How much does an adoption actually cost? And how do you get a tax credit for it? Well, in this video, I'm going to cover all the different types of adoptions and how much they cost and how to get your tax credit for those adoptions. For the best adoption advice, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to be notified when I post a new video every Wednesday. I am an adoption attorney and I have helped a lot of families complete their adoptions. I've even written a cheat sheet about step-parent adoption specifically. Now, the cost of an adoption can be anywhere between $0 and over $40,000. That's a lot of money, right? So I'm gonna start with the cheapest and I'm gonna go all the way up to the most expensive type of adoption there is. The cheapest type of adoption by far is a foster care adoption. A foster care adoption is basically when you're adopting a child out of the foster care system in whatever state you're living in. And foster care adoption is the least expensive because the state pays for all of your expenses. The state even pays for the attorney to finish the adoption for you to make sure that it all goes smoothly and that everything is done legally. Now, foster care, like I said, is by far the cheapest way to adopt a child. There are a lot of children who are waiting in the foster care system right now. They're waiting the forever families. A lot of families shy away from foster care adoption because you have to be a foster parent to adopt through foster care. And the goal of foster care is for the children to return to their parents. So it can be just a difficult thing. But I have so many friends that have done foster care adoptions that are so grateful they went through the process. So that's definitely an option for you to look into when you are looking at the different types of adoptions and how much they cost. Now, the second cheapest type of adoption is a step-parent adoption. That's when a step-parent is adopting their stepchild. And the cost can be anywhere between $2,500 to maybe a little bit over $4,000 if the step-parent is adopting, more than one child. Now, the third type of adoption is a domestic private adoption. And basically what that means is that you're adopting a newborn baby from a family. And you can do that either in the same state that you're living in, or you can do that from another state. So you can live in, Florida, for example, and adopt a baby from Nebraska. Now, the cost of a domestic infant adoption is going to depend on a lot of things. It depends on the attorneys that you're hiring to do the adoption. It depends on if the mother has medical expenses that you'll be responsible for, and any other expenses that can be legally paid to that mom, depending on the state that she's living in. I would say probably somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000, maybe a little bit more, just depending, because there's so many variables that go into the domestic private adoption. It just depends. So for example, if you're adopting a baby from a different state, so you live in Tennessee and you're adopting a baby from Florida, you're dealing with two different states. So that can make the cost go up a little bit more versus if you're in Tennessee and you're adopting a baby from Tennessee. So just to keep that in mind, this is a guesstimate, but the numbers can really fluctuate depending on where you actually end up, adopting a baby from. What type of adoption is your family interested in pursuing? Comment below and let me know. Now, the fourth type of adoption is a domestic agency adoption. This is basically when you're adopting a newborn and you're doing that through an agency. So the typical scenario is that, your family decides we want to grow a family through adoption. You go on the internet, you Google different adoption agencies, you find one, you call them, you give them your information, and they are going to hopefully hook you up with a family who's interested in the adoption. So you are working through an agency to help you complete the adoption versus going through your own private attorney. So the cost for that is going to cost you more than the third option that I told you earlier. So an agency adoption is probably going to cost you over $10,000 because the agency, you're paying them to show your profile to the different birth moms. You're paying them to do your home study. You're paying them to do all these other things that a private attorney would not do for you. So that's why an agency adoption will cost you a little bit more. And it also depends on the agency that you're choosing. So if you live again in Tennessee and you're choosing an agency in Florida, right, the prices could be different. It depends on the agency that you're going with. What I would say is make sure that the agency that you're choosing is licensed. It's really, really important that they're licensed, that they know what they're doing. You want to make sure you call them, that you ask questions and find out what's the turnaround time, how did they show your profile to people, and make sure you're comfortable with them and that you read a ton of reviews on them before you give them your money. Now, the fifth type of adoption is an international adoption, and that is by far the most expensive adoption that you can do. An international adoption is simply when you're adopting a child from another country. The cost of an international adoption can be somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 and sometimes even more. It really depends on the country that you're adopting from. And also, I think whether you're adopting a special needs child or a non-special needs child. It also depends on the country that you're adopting from. There's a lot of variables that come with doing international adoption. It's also important to note that there are adoption grants when you're adopting a special needs child out of the country, and usually the agency will let you know that. So what's this adoption tax credit that people keep talking about? Well, you can actually get a tax credit for adopting a child. And unfortunately, that doesn't include step-parent adoptions. So the tax credit only includes your private adoptions, your international adoptions, and your foster care adoptions. So as of this year in 2020, what you get is a federal adoption tax credit of up to $14,300 per child that you adopted in the year 2020. For you to be able to claim this federal adoption tax credit, you have to have an adjusted modified gross income of $214,520 or less. If you have more than that, then they take a little bit more out that you can get. And then if you have over a certain amount for your gross income, then you don't get the tax credit at all. So now that you know how much adoptions cost in general, do you know what you need to do? If you're ready to do a domestic adoption, do you know the next steps that you need to take? Well, I have made a video to explain the next step you need to take when you are ready to start the adoption process. You can get it by clicking the link below. Now, if you liked this video, click that like button. Be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching. Bye.